Jake Sullivan stood at the window of the defense station, watching the morning sun rise over New Haven's capital city. The golden light painted the tall buildings and green parks in warm colors. Children were walking to school below, their laughter floating up through the clear air. 2.5 million people called this world home. It was supposed to be safe. The warning alarm made Jake jump. Red lights flashed across the control room. His assistant, Amy Collins, ran to the radar screen. Her face went pale as she looked at the display. "Commander Sullivan," she said, her voice shaking. "We have contacts, big ones, coming out of hyperspace." Jake rushed to the screen. 12 massive shapes appeared on the radar, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. They were alien ships, dark and angular, with weapons that could be seen even from space. The largest ship was 3 miles long. "Send a message to all stations," Jake ordered. "This is not a drill. Unknown alien fleet has entered our system." In the city below, people started to notice. The alien ships were so big that they blocked out part of the sky. Parents grabbed their children. Workers stopped what they were doing. Everyone looked up at dark shapes hanging over their world. Lisa Monroe, the colony's administrator, arrived at the defense station within minutes. She was a calm woman who had led the colony for 5 years. But today, worry lines covered her face. "What do they want?" she asked Jake. "We don't know yet," Jake replied. "They haven't responded to our messages." Dr. Peter Hayes, the colony's expert on alien life, studied the ships through the telescope. "I've never seen designs like these," he said. "The hull patterns suggest they're from the Galactic Core region. That's Zephyrian territory." The Zephyrians were known to humans only through old records. They controlled 17 star systems and had a powerful military. But they had never contacted human colonies before. A deep electronic voice suddenly filled the communication system. It spoke in broken human language, with harsh clicks and growls mixed between the words. "Humans of this world, I am War Prime Faxul of the Zephyrian Collective. You have built your nest on sacred ground. This world belongs to the Sector, the ancient ones who came before. You will leave immediately." Lisa stepped forward to the microphone. "This is Administrator Monroe of New Haven Colony. We were not aware of any prior claims to this world. We are willing to discuss this matter and find a solution that works for everyone." The aliens' response was immediate and cold. "There is no discussion. The Sector bred on this world for 10,000 years. Their spirit demands purity. All human presence will be removed within 6 hours." Dr. Hayes frantically searched through his computer files. "I'm checking our geological surveys," he said. "There's no evidence of any advanced civilization on this planet. No ruins, no artifacts, nothing." Jake called up the colony's defense ships. There were only 12 of them, small frigates and patrol boats. Captain Amy Collins prepared to take command of the UEC Defiant, the largest ship in their fleet. "We can't fight those things," Amy said, looking at the alien dreadnoughts. "But we can try to buy time for evacuations." Lisa tried again to contact the aliens. "War Prime Faxul, our scientists show no evidence of this Sector species. Perhaps there has been some mistake. We can relocate to a different continent if necessary." The aliens' laugh was like breaking glass. "Foolish humans. You look for bones and buildings. The Sector were beings of pure energy. They left no traces your simple minds could understand. But we, the Zephyrians, remember. We honor them. This world will be cleansed." In the city, evacuation alarms began to sound. People ran toward the spaceports, carrying whatever they could grab. Families were separated in the panic. Children cried for their parents. The 12 human ships rose from the surface to face the alien fleet. Dr. Hayes pulled Lisa aside. "I've been studying their language patterns," he whispered. "I don't think they're telling the truth about the sector. The way they describe these energy beings matches no known species type. I think they just want our planet." Lisa's eyes widened. "The mineral surveys. We found those rare earth deposits last month, and our location near the galactic core trade routes." "They're lying," Peter confirmed. "They want to take our world, and they're using religion as an excuse." Jake watched the countdown timer on his screen. 4 hours left. The evacuation ships could maybe save 100,000 people. The rest would be trapped. Amy's voice crackled over the radio from the Defiant. "Commander, we're moving to intercept. We'll try to keep them busy while the civilian ships escape." "Amy, don't be a hero," Jake said. "Those ships will crush you." "Someone has to try," she replied. "These are our people down there." The alien ships began to move. Weapons powered up along their hulls, glowing red in the darkness of space. The war prawn's voice came again. "Time grows short, humans. Begin your departure, or face the consequences." Lisa made one last attempt. "Please, we have children here. Families. Give us more time to evacuate." "The sector care nothing for human offspring," the alien responded. "You should have chosen your nesting ground more carefully." Jake realized the truth in that moment. These aliens saw humans as insects, pests to be removed. They didn't care about ancient spirits or sacred ground. They wanted New Haven's resources and its strategic position. The sector were just a convenient lie. The timer reached 0. The alien ships opened fire. Beams of purple energy struck the planet's surface. Where they hit, everything simply vanished. Buildings, trees, people, all turned to dust in an instant. The human defense ships fired back, but their weapons barely scratched the alien hulls. Amy's ship, the Defiant, managed to destroy one alien fighter before being overwhelmed. Jake watched her ship explode in a ball of fire. His friend was gone. More. Beams struck the planet. The capital city began to burn. Jake could see people running in the streets, trying to escape the destruction. But there was nowhere to run. The evacuation ships lifted off, packed with refugees. They carried 80,000 people away from the dying world. Lisa was on one of them, tears streaming down her face as she watched her colony burn. Jake stayed at his post until the end. He sent one final message into space before the defense station was destroyed. "This is Commander Jake Sullivan of New Haven Colony. We are under attack by the Zephyrian Collective. They have destroyed our world without cause. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them we fought back. Tell them to remember us." The message beacon launched into hyperspace, just as the station exploded around him. New Haven was gone. 500,000 people were dead. But the truth would reach Earth. And Earth would not forget. The message beacon from New Haven traveled through hyperspace for 3 weeks before reaching Earth. It was a small metal cylinder, no bigger than a person's fist, but it carried the most important news in human history. Captain Steve Johnson found the beacon during a routine patrol near Jupiter. He was checking the outer system defenses when his ship's computers detected the emergency signal. The beacon was damaged, its hull scored by energy weapons, but the message inside was clear. Steve's hands shook as he played the recording. Jake Sullivan's voice came through the speakers, calm even as explosions echoed in the background. The images were worse than the words. Purple beams of light erasing entire city blocks. Children running from schools that were no longer there. Ships burning in space. "Get me Earth Command," Steve ordered his communications officer. "Priority Alpha. Tell them we have a situation." Within an hour, the message was playing in the most secure room on Earth. President Richard Stone sat at the head of a long table. surrounded by military leaders and government officials. The president was a tall man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had seen many crises in his career, but nothing like this. Admiral Karen Wright, head of the Earth Defense Force, played the message 3 times. Each time, the room grew quieter. When it ended, no one spoke for a long moment. How many people were on New Haven? The president asked. 2.3 million, Admiral Wright replied. According to our last census, there were 900,000 children under the age of 16. Senator Paul Martinez leaned forward. My nephew lived there, his wife and 2 kids. They moved to New Haven last year for better opportunities. His voice broke. Are you telling me they're all dead? The evacuation ship saved about 80,000 people, Admiral Wright said softly. The rest ... Yes, Senator. They're gone. Director Margaret Bell of Human Colonial Affairs opened a thick folder. New Haven wasn't the first, she said. We've lost contact with 12 Outer Rim colonies in the past year. We thought it was equipment failure or natural disasters. But now, she spread photos across the table. 12 different worlds, all with the same signs of destruction. Burned continents, empty cities, no survivors. The Zephyrians have been killing us for a year, she continued. They're working their way through our colonies one by one. They call it pest control. President Stone's face hardened. What do we know about these Zephyrians? Commander Steve Johnson, who had been promoted to intelligence chief that morning, stood up. They control 17 star systems in the galactic core. Military dictatorship. They believe that faster breeding species like humans take up too much space and resources. They think the galaxy would be better without us. How big is their fleet? Asked General Larver Davis. Unknown, but significant. They've been expanding for 300 years. They've wiped out at least 6 other species that we know of. They're good at it. The president walked to the window, looking out at the Earth's blue sky. Somewhere up there, alien ships were hunting human families. Children were being murdered for the crime of being born human. What are our options? He asked. Admiral Wright pulled up a holographic display. We have 50,000 ships in the Earth Defense Force. Most are patrol boats and frigates. The aliens have dreadnoughts that can destroy planets. In a straight fight, we'd lose. Then we don't fight straight, the president said. What about the Terran Covenant? Everyone in the room looked surprised. The Terran Covenant was a classified military protocol that most people didn't know existed. General Davis cleared her throat. Sir, the Covenant was designed for a worst-case scenario. Total war. It would transform our entire civilization into a military machine. Is this not a worst-case scenario? The president asked. They're killing our children. General, they're hunting us like animals. He turned back to the table. I want options. All of them. Admiral Wright activated a secure hologram. Project Deep Strike, she said. We've been preparing for this possibility for 30 years. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt. Automated factories on Mars. Mining operations throughout the solar system. We could build a fleet, but it would take time. How much time? The president asked. 6 months for the first wave. Maybe 100,000 ships. Not enough, said Commander Johnson. Our intelligence suggests they have at least 200,000 vessels. Dr. Rachel Turner, a physicist from the Weapons Development Program, spoke up. Mr. President, my team has been working on quantum disruption technology. We could weaponize it, but we'd need massive industrial support. You'll have it, the president said immediately. What else? Every human colony will contribute, Director Bell said. We have 47 worlds with industrial capacity. If we coordinate properly, we could build the largest fleet in galactic history. Senator Martinez wiped tears from his eyes. My nephew's kids were 5 and 7 years old. They liked to play with toy spaceships. He looked up at the president. How do we make these aliens pay for what they've done? We don't just make them pay, the president replied. We make sure they never hurt anyone again. He stood up and walked around the table, looking each person in the eye. Ladies and gentlemen, as of this moment, the United Earth Alliance is at war. Not just with the Zephyrians, but with anyone who thinks human lives don't matter. Admiral Wright began typing on her tablet. I'll need authorization to activate all reserve fleets. You have it. And permission to conscript civilian shipbuilders? Done. General Davis raised her hand. Sir, we're talking about building 700,000 warships. That's more than the rest of the galaxy combined. Good, the president said. Let them. Be scared for once. Commander Johnson looked worried. Mr. President, this will change everything. Once we build a fleet that size, the other species will see us as a threat. They should, the president replied, because we are a threat to anyone who hurts innocent people. Dr. Turner stood up. I'll need access to every physicist on Earth and the outer colonies. You'll have them within 48 hours. The president walked back to the window. They think we're pests. Weak. They think they can murder our families, and we'll just roll over and die. He turned back to the group. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Admiral Wright was already making calls. Admiral Morris, this is Wright. Report to Earth Command immediately. You're being promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander. As the meeting broke up, people rushed to their tasks. The president stayed behind with Senator Martinez, who was still staring at the photos of dead colonies. Paul, the president said gently, I'm sorry about your nephew's family. They were just kids, Martinez whispered. They never hurt anyone. I know, and we're going to make sure no other kids suffer like this. The president looked out at the stars. Send a message to every human colony. Tell them what happened. Tell them we're going to war. And tell them that before this is over, the galaxy will know that human lives matter. That night, emergency broadcasts went out across human space. Factories switched to war production. Shipyards began working around the clock. Scientists abandoned their research to work on weapons. Teachers became engineers. Students became soldiers. The message was simple and clear. New Haven would be avenged. The Zephyrians had made the worst mistake in their history. They had shown humanity what they were capable of. Now humanity would show them what they were capable of. In the depths of space, automated factories began building the largest fleet ever assembled. Earth was going to war. 48 hours after President Stone's declaration of war, the Earth transformed. Kevin Brown woke up to find soldiers at his door. He was a merchant ship captain, used to carrying cargo between the outer colonies. Now they wanted him to command a destroyer. I don't know how to fight, Kevin told the recruitment officer. You know how to fly a ship, the officer replied. We'll teach you the rest. Kevin wasn't alone. Across the solar system, civilian pilots were being asked to become warship commanders. The Earth Defense Force had 50,000 ships, but they needed 700,000. That meant regular people had to step up at the Luna shipyards. Dr. Rachel Turner worked without sleeping. Her quantum disruption technology could tear apart alien hull material, but it needed massive power sources. She had lost her daughter on New Haven, and now she poured her grief into creating weapons of revenge. The energy requirements are enormous, she told Admiral Frank Morris, the new Supreme Fleet Commander. Each shot will drain a ship's reactor for 30 seconds. How many shots to kill a Zephyrian dreadnought? Morris asked. 3 direct hits, maybe 4. Then we'll make sure every ship gets close enough for 3 shots. The Admiral was a tough man who had fought in the colony wars 20 years ago. He understood that this war would be different from anything humans had faced before. The enemy wasn't trying to conquer them. They were trying to wipe them out completely. On Mars, the automated factories never stopped. Giant machines built ship hulls day and night. Each destroyer took 3 days to complete. Each cruiser took a week. The massive dreadnoughts took a month, but they were worth it. These ships could fight the aliens on equal terms. General Lara Davis coordinated the entire operation from Earth Command. She had been planning for this scenario for 30 years, building hidden shipyards and weapon stores throughout the solar system. Now all that preparation was paying off. "We have 200,000 ships under construction," she reported to President Stone. "Another 300,000 in the design phase. The outer colonies are contributing everything they have." "What about trained crews?" the president asked. "We're training them as fast as we can. Merchant captains, transport pilots, even civilian engineers. Anyone who's ever flown in space is getting weapons training." The president nodded. "And the aliens? Any sign they know what we're doing?" "None. They think we're just another weak species. They're still destroying colonies one by one, taking their time. This was humanity's advantage. The Zephyrians were arrogant. They had wiped out so many species that they thought humans would be easy. They didn't know that humans were different. When pushed to the wall, humans didn't surrender. They fought back." Kevin Brown finished his combat training 3 weeks later. He stood on the bridge of his new ship, the UES Retribution, and looked at his crew. They were all civilians 6 months ago. Now they were warriors. "Captain," said his navigation officer, a woman named Jennifer Lewis, who used to teach school. "We're ready for our first patrol." "Good," Kevin replied. "Let's go protect some colonists." The ship lifted off from Earth's orbit and joined a convoy of 50 other vessels. They were headed for the Titan system, where intelligence reports suggested the Zephyrians might strike next. If the aliens showed up, they would find humans ready to fight. Dr. Turner's weapons were being installed on every ship. The quantum disruptors looked like massive cannons, but they fired pure energy that could tear apart any known material. The first test had destroyed an entire asteroid in one shot. "The aliens have never faced this technology," she told the weapon crews. "It will cut through their shields like paper. But remember, you only get a few shots before your reactor needs to recharge." Meanwhile, Admiral Morris was planning the biggest military operation in human history. Operation Righteous Fury would launch from 17 different star systems at the same time. The goal was to hit every major Zephyrian base simultaneously. "We can't give them time to respond," he explained to his staff. "If they realize how big our fleet is, they might call for reinforcements from other parts of the galaxy." The plan was complex. 7 battle groups would attack the main Zephyrian worlds. Each group would have 100,000 ships. The remaining ships would protect human colonies and cut off alien supply lines. Commander Danny Clark, a former racing pilot, was training on the new fighter bombers. These small ships could carry quantum bombs deep into enemy formations. They were fast but lightly armored. Most pilots wouldn't survive their first mission. "I know the odds," Danny told his squadron. "But think about New Haven. Think about all those kids who died. If we don't stop these aliens here, they'll keep killing until there are no humans left." The other pilots nodded. They had all seen the videos from New Haven. They knew what they were fighting for. As the months passed, the fleet grew larger. Ships launched from Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, and 47 colony worlds. Each vessel was crewed by volunteers who had given up their old lives to fight for humanity's survival. Jennifer Lewis had been promoted to Commodore after showing exceptional skill in the training exercises. She now commanded a battle group of 15,000 ships. Her flagship was the UES Vengeance, a massive dreadnought built specifically to fight alien capital ships. "My students used to ask me why we study history," she told her crew. "I would tell them that we learn from the past to build a better future. Today, we're making history. We're fighting so that human children will have a future." The final ships were completed just as intelligence reported that the Zephyrians were preparing to attack Earth itself. War Prime Faxul had grown impatient with the slow pace of human extermination. He wanted to end the war quickly by destroying humanity's own world. "They're coming," Admiral Morris announced to the assembled fleet commanders. "Our spies report that the entire Zephyrian fleet is heading for Earth. They think they can finish us with one attack." "How many ships?" asked Commodore Lewis. 300,000. The human commanders looked at each other. The aliens still outnumbered them, but not by much. And the humans had advantages the aliens didn't know about. "We have quantum weapons," said Captain Brown. "They don't." "We have motivation," added Commander Clark. "They're fighting for conquest. We're fighting for survival. And we have a surprise," Admiral Morris said with a grim smile. "They think they're attacking a defenseless world. Instead, they're going to find the largest fleet in galactic history waiting for them." The human fleet took position around Earth. 700,000 ships arranged in defensive formations. Cruisers and destroyers formed the outer layers. The massive dreadnoughts waited in the center. Their quantum cannons charged and ready. Dr. Turner stood on the bridge of her research vessel, watching the final preparations. Her weapons were installed on every ship. Her daughter's death would be avenged. "They killed our children," she said quietly. "Now they'll learn what happens when you make humans angry." The Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace just beyond the orbit of Pluto. War Prime Faxul expected to find a few dozen defense ships and a panicked planet. Instead, his sensors detected something impossible. "How many ships?" he demanded. 700,000, War Prime. All human vessels. For the first time in his life, Faxul felt fear. How had these primitive creatures built such a fleet? It was larger than anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. "It doesn't matter," he told his commanders. "We are Zephyrians. We have conquered the galaxy. These humans are just another species to be exterminated." But deep down, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. The humans weren't running away. They weren't begging for mercy. They were waiting to fight. Admiral Morris opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Frank Morris of the United Earth Alliance. You have committed genocide against human civilians. You have murdered children. Today, you will face justice." War Prime Faxul laughed. "Foolish human. You cannot stand against the might of the Zephyrian collective. We have destroyed countless species. You will be no different." "We are different," Morris replied. "We don't surrender. We don't run. And we never, ever forget." The two fleets faced each other across the darkness of space. The largest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The battle for Earth began at 0800 hours. Solar Standard Time. War Prime Faxul fired the first shot, a massive plasma beam that lit up the darkness between the two fleets. The beam struck the human destroyer UES Courage, killing all 200 crew members in an instant. Admiral Morris watched his people die and felt something cold settle in his chest. "All ships," he said calmly into his communicator. "You are cleared to engage. Show them what humans do to child killers." The response was immediate. 700,000 human ships opened fire at once. The space between Earth and Pluto filled with energy. Beams, missile trails, and the new quantum disruption weapons that Dr. Turner had created. The Zephyrians had never seen anything like it. Commodore Jennifer Lewis commanded the dreadnought UES Vengeance from the center of the human formation. Her ship carried the most powerful quantum cannon ever built, a weapon that could destroy a Zephyrian capital ship with one shot. "Target their flagship," she ordered her weapons officer. "Let's cut the head off this snake." The quantum cannon fired. A beam of pure energy crossed the void and struck War Prime Faxul's command ship. The alien vessel simply ceased to exist, torn apart at the molecular level. The War Prime and his entire staff were gone in less than a second, but the Zephyrians were experienced warriors. They had conquered 17 star systems and destroyed 6 species. They recovered quickly from the loss of their leader and began their counterattack. Captain Kevin Brown found himself in the thick of the fighting. His destroyer was part of the outer defense line, facing 3 Zephyrian cruisers. His quantum weapon could only fire every 30 seconds, so he had to make each shot count. "Bring us around," he told his pilot, a former cargo hauler named Mark Davis. "Get me a clean shot at the lead cruiser." The Retribution spun through space, dodging alien fire. Kevin waited until the enemy ship was perfectly aligned, then fired. The quantum beam punched through the cruiser's shields and hull, causing massive explosions throughout the vessel. "One down," Kevin said grimly. 2 to go. The space battle was unlike anything in recorded history. Ships exploded every few seconds. Debris from destroyed vessels created hazards for the surviving craft. The human fleet's numerical advantage was slowly wearing down the Zephyrians, but the aliens had better armor and more powerful weapons. Commander Danny Clark led his fighter squadron against the Zephyrian dreadnoughts. His small ships carried quantum bombs that could cripple even the largest enemy vessels. But getting close enough to deliver them was almost impossible. "Delta Squadron, form up on me," Danny radioed to his pilots. "We're going to punch through their fighter screen." The human fighters dove toward the alien formation. Zephyrian interceptors rose to meet them. In the savage dogfight that followed, half of Danny's squadron was destroyed. But the survivors broke through and reached the enemy capital ships. Danny's quantum bomb detonated inside a Zephyrian dreadnought's engine room. The massive ship lost power and began to drift helplessly. Human cruisers moved in to finish it off. "Good work, Delta Squadron," Admiral Morris said over the communication channel. "All squadrons, follow their example. Get those bombs to the big ships." The battle had been raging for 2 hours when the Zephyrians deployed their most terrible weapon. Reality warpers were devices that could erase matter from existence itself. They were similar to quantum disruptors, but much more powerful. The reality warper beam struck the human-heavy cruiser UES Determination. The ship didn't explode or burn. It simply stopped existing. 800 crew members vanished along with their vessel. "They have matter erasers," reported Captain Sarah Kim from her science vessel. "Our shields can't stop them." "Then we overwhelm them," Admiral Morris replied. "All ships, concentrate fire on the reality warper platforms. Don't let them get another shot." The human fleet focused its attack on the alien superweapons. Thousands of ships fired at once, creating a storm of energy that lit up the solar system. The Zephyrian platforms were destroyed, but not before they had erased 6 more human vessels. The tide of battle began to turn when the human reinforcements arrived. Admiral Morris had held back 100,000 ships for this moment. They dropped out of hyperspace behind the Zephyrian fleet and opened fire immediately. "This is Admiral Tony Garcia of the Second Fleet," came the voice over the radio. "Sorry we're late. Traffic was terrible." The Zephyrians found themselves caught between 2 massive human forces. Their formation began to break apart as ships tried to face threats from multiple directions. Commodore Lewis saw her chance. "All dreadnoughts advance. Let's finish this." The human capital ships moved forward, their quantum cannons firing continuously. Each shot destroyed or crippled a Zephyrian vessel. The aliens' superior technology couldn't overcome the sheer number of human ships, but the Zephyrians weren't finished. A group of their fastest ships broke away from the main battle and headed directly for Earth. If they couldn't win the space battle, they would destroy the human home world. Planetary defense systems engage. Admiral Morris ordered. Earth's orbital. Platforms opened fire. Massive laser rays and missile batteries had been built in secret over the past months. The approaching Zephyrian ships ran into a wall of defensive fire. Most of the alien vessels were destroyed, but 3 got through. They began bombing Earth's major cities. New York, London, and Tokyo were hit before the planet's fighter squadrons could respond. Captain Lisa Hayes, a former test pilot, led the defense of Earth's atmosphere. Her squadron intercepted the surviving Zephyrian ships over the Pacific Ocean. In the aerial battle that followed, all 3 alien vessels were destroyed, but Lisa's ship was damaged. "This is Hayes," she radioed as her fighter fell toward the ocean. "I got them, but I'm going down." "Rescue ships are on the way," came the reply from Earth Command. Lisa's sacrifice inspired the human fleet. The Zephyrians had shown their true nature by attacking civilians. Now there could be no mercy. The space battle reached its climax when the Zephyrian command structure finally collapsed. With their leadership dead and their formations broken, the alien fleet began to retreat. "They're running," reported Captain Brown. "Should we pursue?" "Negative," Admiral Morris replied. "Let them go. We have bigger plans." The retreat of the Zephyrian fleet from Earth was only the beginning. Admiral Morris activated the second phase of Operation Righteous Fury. Human battle groups launched from 17 different star systems, all heading for Zephyrian territory. The aliens had expected to fight a defensive war on human worlds. Instead, they found themselves facing attacks on their own planets. The humans were bringing the war to them. Battle Group Alpha, commanded by Commodore Lewis, headed for the Zephyrian home world. Her 100,000 ships would face the aliens' strongest defenses. But after what had happened at New Haven, she was ready for anything. "Remember," she told her captains, "we're not conquerors. We're liberators. There are other species on these worlds, slaves and servants of the Zephyrians. We save the innocent and punish the guilty." The human fleet spread out across Zephyrian space like a wave of vengeance. Every world that had supported the genocide of human civilians would face justice. The aliens who had thought themselves masters of the galaxy were about to learn what it meant to fight humanity. In the ruins of the Zephyrian flagship, War Prime, Thaxul as second in command, Sub-Commander Veltar, tried to understand what had happened. His people had fought hundreds of wars and never lost. How had these humans built such a massive fleet so quickly? "They're not like the others," he told his surviving officers. "The other species gave up when we showed our strength. These humans ... they got stronger." The sub-commander looked at the reports from across Zephyrian space. Human fleets were attacking, everywhere at once. The mighty Zephyrian Empire was crumbling under the assault. "Send a message to all our worlds," he ordered. "Tell them that we may have awakened something terrible. These humans don't fight for territory or resources. They fight for revenge. And they're very good at it." The message would prove prophetic. The human fleet that had been built to avenge New Haven was now spreading across the galaxy, bringing justice to those who had committed genocide. The Zephyrians had made the worst mistake in their history. They had shown humanity what they were truly capable of. Now humanity was showing them the same thing. The siege of Zephyros Prime lasted 3 days. Commodore Jennifer Lewis watched from the bridge of the UE's Vengeance as human ships surrounded the Zephyrian homeworld. The planet's orbital defenses had been destroyed in the first hour of fighting. Now the aliens were trapped on their own world, facing the largest invasion force in galactic history. "Commodore," reported her tactical officer, "we're detecting massive underground bunkers across the planet. The Ephorian leadership is hiding." "Let them hide," Jennifer replied. "We have time." She was right. The human fleet controlled space completely. No Zephyrian ships remained to threaten them. The aliens who had once terrorized the galaxy were now cowering in holes in the ground. Admiral Morris coordinated the attack from his flagship in orbit. The plan was simple but effective. Human forces would capture the Zephyrian government and military leadership alive. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. "Begin the ground assault," Morris ordered. Major Tony Garcia led the first wave of human Marines onto the planet's surface. His soldiers had trained for months to fight in alien environments. They wore powered armor and carried weapons designed specifically to fight Zephyrians. "Remember," Tony told his troops, as their landing ships descended, "we're here to arrest war criminals, not to become them. Civilians are off limits. We protect the innocent." The landing was unopposed. The Zephyrian military had retreated to their underground bunkers. The surface cities were filled with alien civilians who watched in terror as human soldiers marched through their streets. But something unexpected happened. As the humans advanced, other aliens began to emerge from hiding. These weren't Zephyrians. They were members of conquered species, slaves who had been forced to work in the alien empire. A group of insect-like beings, called the Clef, approached Tony's unit. Their translator devices allowed them to speak broken human language. "You are the humans," their leader said, "the ones who fight the Zephyrians. We have heard stories. Are you here to free us?" Tony looked at the scared aliens. They were thin and weak, clearly mistreated by their Zephyrian masters. "Yes," he said simply. "You're free now." The Clef leader began to cry, a strange sound that came from his breathing holes. "We have been slaves for 60 years. Our children have never known freedom." Similar scenes played out across the planet. The Zephyrians had enslaved dozens of species over the centuries. Now those slaves were being liberated by human soldiers. Dr. Alice Roberts, who had been appointed head of the new Interspecies Relations Council, landed with the second wave of troops. Her job was to help coordinate the liberation of enslaved populations. "We need translators and medical teams," she reported to Admiral Morris. "These people have been badly treated. Some species are near extinction." "Whatever they need," Morris replied. "This is why we're here." The human assault on the underground bunkers began on the second day. Commander Scott Taylor led a team of engineers who had found a way to breach the Zephyrian defenses. They used modified quantum disruptors to cut through the bunker walls. Inside the main command bunker, Sub-Commander Veltar waited with the surviving Zephyrian leadership. They had weapons and were prepared to fight to the death. But when the humans broke through, something strange happened. "We surrender," Veltar announced, dropping his weapon. The human soldiers were surprised. They had expected a final battle. Instead, the Zephyrian officer was giving up. "Why?" asked Commander Taylor. "Because you are not like us," Veltar replied. "We have watched your soldiers. You protect the weak. You heal the wounded. You free slaves. We expected conquerors, but you are something else." Tony Garcia found the main Zephyrian war bunker on the third day. Inside, he discovered something that made him call for Admiral Morris immediately. "Sir, you need to see this," Tony said over. The radio. Morris came down to the planet personally. The bunker contained detailed records of Zephyrian military campaigns, file after file documenting the destruction of entire species, the genocide of billions of innocent beings. They kept records of everything, Tony said, his voice disgusted. Every world they destroyed, every species they wiped out. They were proud of it. Morris looked through the files. The Zephyrians had been systematic in their cruelty. They had a list of 43 species marked for pest control elimination. Humans had been number 37. They would have killed us all, Morris said. Quietly. Every man, woman, and child. And then they would have moved on to the next species. The discovery changed everything. This wasn't just about avenging New Haven anymore. The humans had uncovered evidence of genocides spanning 3 centuries. The Zephyrians were responsible for the deaths of trillions of beings. Admiral Morris called a meeting of all human commanders. They gathered in the captured Zephyrian government building, surrounded by freed slaves and defeated enemies. "We face a choice," Morris told them. "We can do to them what they did to us. We can wipe them out completely. Or we can be better than they are." Captain Kevin Brown spoke first. They murdered children. They destroyed entire species. They deserve to die. Maybe, Morris replied. But if we kill them all, how are we different? How do we face the species they enslaved and tell them we're liberators, not conquerors? Commodore Lewis raised her hand. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "The New Haven Accords," Morris said. "A set of laws that will govern the galaxy. Protection for all sentient species. An end to genocide and slavery. And a force to enforce those laws." Dr. Roberts stepped forward with a document she had been preparing. "I've been working with representatives from the freed species. They want humans to take charge of galactic peacekeeping. They trust us." The vote was unanimous. The human fleet would not commit genocide, even against genocidal enemies. Instead, they would create a new order based on protection of the innocent. The announcement was broadcast across the galaxy. Admiral Morris stood in the former Zephyrian Senate building, surrounded by representatives from dozens of species. "The Zephyrian Empire is ended," he declared. "In its place, we establish the Galactic Protection Zone. Any species that threatens innocent civilians will face the combined might of the human fleet and our allies." The response was immediate. Star systems across the galaxy requested human protection. Species that had lived in fear for centuries finally felt safe. Commander Scott Taylor was placed in charge of the first human peacekeeping station, built in orbit around Zephyros Prime. His job was to oversee the peaceful transition of Zephyrian society. "The younger Zephyrians are different," he reported to Earth. "They're ashamed of what their ancestors did. They want to make things right." Veltar, the former sub-commander, became the leader of the new Zephyrian government. He worked closely with human advisors to rebuild his society without the militaristic culture that had led to so much death. "We must teach our children differently," he told Scott. "No more talk of superior species. No more pride in conquest. We must learn to live in peace." The transformation took years, but it worked. The former slaves became citizens. The Zephyrian military was disbanded and replaced with a small police force. The weapons factories were converted to build hospitals and schools. 5 years after the battle for Earth, Ambassador Helen Murphy hosted a memorial service for the victims of New Haven. Representatives from every species in the galaxy attended. The service was held on the rebuilt colony world, now called New Hope. President Stone, now older but still strong, spoke to the assembled crowds. "We did not seek this war," he said. "But when it came, we fought not just for ourselves, but for everyone who couldn't fight back." Behind him stood a monument made from the melted metal of New Haven's destroyed buildings. Names were carved into the surface. 2.3 million names of the people who had died. Children and adults, families and individuals, all remembered. Dr. Rachel Turner, whose daughter's name was among them, placed a flower at the base of the monument. "They died so that others might live free," she said. "We will never forget them." In space above the ceremony, The human fleet maintained its watch. 700,000 ships spread across the galaxy, protecting trade routes and defending colonies. They were no longer weapons of war, but guardians of peace. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans would tolerate many things, but the murder of innocents was not one of them. Species that had once considered war now chose diplomacy. Pirates and raiders found new careers. Slavery became extinct. As the ceremony ended, a group of young Zephyrians approached the human delegation. They were students who had been taught the new history of their people, including the crimes their ancestors had committed. "We are sorry," their leader said to President Stone. "We cannot undo what was done, but we promise it will never happen again." "I believe you," the president replied. "And that's why we fought. Not for revenge, but for the chance to build something better." The human fleet continued its patrol of the galaxy, ready to respond to any threat against innocent life. The children of New Haven had not died in vain. Their sacrifice had created a galaxy where children of all species could grow up in peace. In the depths of space, automated message beacons carried a simple warning to any who might consider aggression. Human lives matter. All lives matter. The United Earth Alliance is watching. The galaxy was finally safe.